So you may be wondering how your child is going to be assessed in reading. 3 times a year, we use the Fontes and Pinnell benchmark assessment system to determine independent and instructional reading levels for every kid. They alternate between a fiction and a nonfiction text, depending on what they read previously, whether it's in kindergarten or earlier in the year. And then we have a formula that calculates their accuracy and their comprehension to determine those levels. The instructional level expectations are in kindergarten by the end of the year that they are on a C or above. In first grade, by the end of the first 6 weeks, we expect students to be on a level D or above. By December, we ask that they are on an F or above. And then our end goal for first grade is that they are a J or higher. So it's a big jump this year. This is an example of a level D nonfiction text, what it may look like. This is not the exact book from the assessment, but it is a text that is leveled on a D. And so the student would be introduced to the book, then they would be asked to read it completely by themselves. They are sounding out words, they're using their sight words, things like that. And at the end of the book, we ask them questions about the text, tell me what happened, why, and then we infer some things about the text, and then they make connections. And a lot of times that inferring piece, thinking beyond the text, can be more challenging for students. So this is an example of a level D nonfiction text, which can also be a little tricky because at the end, when we're asking questions for comprehension, we also want to know if they understand nonfiction features. So a question might be asked, show me a diagram. What does the diagram tell you? What kinds of insects did you read about? And in order to answer those questions, they're having to look at the photos, they're having to look at the captions, they're having to read every piece of information that is on the page. It's not just reading the words within the text. They're having to really go a little deeper into the book. So next, we have an example of a level F, which is where students should be in the middle of the year. And again, this is not a text from Benchmark, but it is correlated to their system. You can see their Fontes and Pinnell. And so again, sometimes the pictures give us a little bit more meaning and understanding. And one of the major components of comprehension is connecting to your life. And a lot of times students, they'll say, I don't know. So make sure that when you're reading at home, that you're asking them, does this remind you of anything? Has this ever happened to you? How do you think he feels? Why do you think that? What could he have done differently? What kind of character is this person, or is this, I guess in this case, animal? Here's an example of a level F nonfiction text. And you'll notice, again, those nonfiction features are a little bit more challenging. There's a map. And you'll notice information gets a little bit more intense. You may see some patterns still in this kind of leveled reader, but a lot of times students that are used to that pattern text struggle with their decoding skills because they're not yet understanding that the books don't always have a pattern. So by the end of first grade, this is our goal. We want to be reading at a level J or higher, completely independent, which means they are making some errors, but not too many that it's too hard for them, that they're able to decode these words, a lot of the blends, a lot of those vowel teams where it's not, and there's not so much of a pattern as well. And you'll notice in this particular text, there are some bolded words for vocabulary that we may be asking, well, what does it mean when mom said it has its perks? What does that phrase mean? And they have to be able to explain that. And if they can't explain what they've read, then they're not truly reading, because that's the main purpose of reading, is that we are understanding and we can talk about it. And you'll also notice that this text, this level, is a lot longer of a book. So having the stamina to read and get through it with fluency as well, not taking too long to read. We expect first grade students to be reading at approximately 60 words per minute. They also have to understand what a glossary is, what you can learn from a glossary, what you could learn from an index. And you'll see here's an example of the nonfiction text. They have to know, again, those features like table of contents. They have to be able to understand that we read the headings and what the headings can tell us. And again, you'll notice captions, you'll notice diagrams, illustrations, photographs, all of those things. And again, there's a map. What can the map tell you? What did you learn from this diagram? Those types of questions. So again, when you're reading at home, it's important to not just focus on decoding those words or recognizing sight words, but the majority of the emphasis is on understanding and talking about the book. That's our goal, is that they can talk about what they've read and explain it to you. So coming up here at the end, you will see a chart that we use to determine whether a text for a student is too hard, just right, or easy. And it's a formula that every text has in that system. So if they score 95% to 100 on accuracy and they have excellent comprehension, that would be an independent reader for them. If it's between 90 and 94% accuracy and they're still answering those questions, it's instructional. If they cannot answer those questions, it becomes hard. Or if their accuracy is too low, it becomes hard as well. So we want to find that just right level to keep them learning but not frustrated. So I hope this gives you a little bit more clarity on what we're looking for when we're assessing your child in their reading. And I know if you have any other questions, please ask your teacher.